good time. Ooh, time to get our craft on. Ooh, time to have fun. Ooh, time to feel good.
Hey gifted crafters, welcome back for another Saturday CrafterNoon. Thank you all for tuning in. I think you guys are enjoying the trivia. We have people from all over the world today. I see people from California, Maryland, Dover, Pennsylvania, Louisiana, Brandon, South Dakota, Minnesota. It's amazing how we can really reach out to all kinds of crafters all over the world, and that's what what I love about this. It's our own little community of crafters, but yet we are all over the world. It's absolutely amazing. Now, if you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Nancy with GiftsHQ, and I host these weekly live sessions to talk about all things crafting. We range from things from decoupage, knitting, crocheting, sewing, embroidery, and just so much more. And if you have a little Etsy shop, or maybe you have a craft fair, excuse me, coming up, I'm hoping that we can help you out with some tips, tricks, and ideas. Or if you're just looking for a simple little gift, I hope this is the perfect place where you can get all kinds of ideas, because we like to kind of help each other out. So I hope you really enjoy it. So go on into the chat, say hello to some friends, and just sit back, relax, and enjoy this hour. Okay, now, before we jump in and say hello to all our friends out there, I'm a holiday girl, so I love my holidays. So let me just tell you the little holidays that may not be on your calendar. So today is National Onion Ring Day. So if you like those onion rings, why not have some, right? It is also, it's Kissing Day. So if you have a little loved one, give them a little kiss. And it is also Summer Giving Day, which I thought was pretty amazing. So that's a lot of fun. We are officially in summertime now, so go out there and give a little gift. And I'm hoping that you can use today's session to make a little gift for someone that you can share with someone you love. Alrighty, so let's see who we have out there. I see Amy Bullis, I see Crafting with Robin, Donna Phillips, Jackie Hallman, Judy Bauer, 1 Minute Tips, Robin's Quilt Basket, I see Sassy. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Oh, Donna says, Nancy, I love your new crafting tunes. We all have significant others who tolerate and even encourage our crafting. So if you're wondering what Donna is talking about, she is one of our members, and our members are getting a sneak peek on some of our crafting tunes that will be coming out soon. So we are working on volume 2. If you've already seen it, we have a volume 1 out there and available in our shop. And you can also find it on our website, and various other things like Amazon, Spotify, and other areas. We tried to kind of spread it all around. So if you're looking for volume 1, it is out there, and it's got all kinds of crafting tunes from knitting, crocheting, embroidery, sewing, all kinds of tunes out there that'll be fun to listen to while you're doing your crafting. So I hope you guys really enjoy it. We are working on volume 2, and it is coming along a little slowly, but it's coming along. And we do have a couple of songs kind of finished, and so if you are part of our members, you're able to kind of get a little preview of the song. So I think Donna and Judy, maybe you were inspired, at least I'm hoping you were a little inspired by the songs, because I also want to congratulate Donna as well as Robin's Quilt Basket for completing some projects. They've posted some of their projects on Facebook, and these are part of their unfinished projects, and Donna's been working on a beautiful, beautiful Well, I'm not going to spoil it for you. It's a beautiful project that's out there, and you can check it out on our Facebook group. And Robin's Quilt Basket as well finished up a nice little project also. And so we're hoping that this inspiration really helps everyone, you know, kind of get into those unfinished project stashes that you have and try to finish them up. I know I was able to finish one up today, and I'm going to share that one with you too. So let's see now. Oh, thank you, Sherry C, for joining. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. I hope you have a great time. So if you were with us last week, we talked about doing a pillow with some piping. And this is the pillow that we did last week, and you can see we talked about putting piping on here. We talked about some of the advantages of putting piping on your pillow and how that kind of upscales you to be able to sell at a higher level than you would for a regular pillow if you're doing a craft fair or doing some type of Etsy shop. So this was a great little fun project to do. The back, it's just an envelope pillow, but the piping really adds a lot to it and really kind of upscales it. So there were a lot of tips on that we talked about last week. So if you didn't get to tune into that, that was live number 95. And we are on live number 96 today. So pretty soon we're going to be at 100 lives. I can't believe that, right? So thanks for, you know, kind of going along to this journey with me. I really appreciate it. But this was a lot of fun to do. And so I wanted to kind of build a little bit more on this. And so we're going to tackle something else today that's going to be a little fun. And I think that you guys will really enjoy it. What I've decided to do today is use my Cricut machine. So I do have the Cricut Maker 3, or any other cutting machine that you have will work. And I wanted to use the Cricut to do some applique pieces. And then I went ahead and did that using heat and bond. And so I went ahead and did a cute little design that I was able to do here. Let me see if you guys can see that pretty well. And this is just like a piece. This is just a panel. Now, there's different things that you can do. You can do a pillowcase. You can do a table runner. You can do all kinds of things with applique pieces. And I know a lot of people who do embroidery use applique, but you can also do it with your Cricut machine. You can have certain designs, shapes cut out with your Cricut machine, and then use heat and bond to apply them to the fabric. And then there's so many other things that you can do on top of that. And we're going to kind of go through all of those things that you can do. I'm going to kind of take you through most of the steps here. I don't have my laptop to be able to show you the steps within the Cricut design space, so I may just do that as a separate tutorial that I can put out there for you guys. But we're going to go through most of the steps, and if you're familiar with your Cricut, you'll be able to do it. If you don't have a Cricut machine, there's other things that you can do, and you can basically do the same things. Just going to take a couple of extra steps and a couple of really sharp scissors. So I hope you really enjoy that one. Oh, thanks. 1 minute tips, and Robin's quilt basket that I seems to be liking it. It's super cute. Love it. Awesome. Let me just bring it up a little bit more so you guys can see what this looks like. So this is 3 separate applique pieces. So I was able to do the heart and then 2 swans with 3 separate pieces of fabric, and then just lay them on to my background fabric, which is just a cotton fabric right here on the back. Now I can cut this to size, and I can make this into an envelope pillow by adding 2 more pieces of fabric in the back. I can also use some piping to do some piping around the edges that'll give it like something that's really sharp. And there's so many things that you can do with this. Like you can cut out letters, you can put dates on here. I can even take this exactly the way it is to my embroidery machine and just embroider a name on here if I wanted to, you know, or just maybe add a date on here. There's so many extra things that you can do that will still even elevate this even some more. Now, I love the idea of just adding decorative stitches, and you can just go to your sewing machine and do decorative stitches all the way around the heart or around the swans, or, you know, you can do your own thing here. There's so many different ideas on here. You can add some batting to this if you want it to quilt it. You can do that as well. I mean, ideas just keep going and popping into my head. There's so many things that you can do with this. But I had a lot of fun in just kind of making the shapes, and I like the idea that I can basically design my own, right? Just by using the shapes on your Cricut machine, or if you don't have a Cricut machine, what you can do is just go in Google and, you know, whatever shape you're looking for, say a heart, you know, or whatever the shape is, just type that in and then look at the images and see if it has something that you can cut out to kind of use as your template, right? And then you would take that template and bring it to the heat and bond, cut that same shape out, and then you would apply that with the heat and bond and the fabric of your choice onto your background fabric. And that will really make a nice little design. And you can do so many things, you know. Let's see. Oh, Jenny. Hey, Jenny, how are you? You're late. You missed the trivia. Oh, I think it was a little easy today. I think a lot of people got it. So I think we're good. And Amy is complaining about the heat. Yes, it is super hot and super humid. I'm in South Florida, by the way. So yes, feeling it here too. Alrighty, so Donna says her next project is going to be the Tapestry Project Climate Change Tapestry. Nice. She's got to practice the linen stitch crochet to get ready for the crochet projects. Awesome, awesome, Donna. And I hope we really encourage each other to get projects done. Like, one of the things, like I mentioned, is one of the projects that we wanted to finish. So let me bring that out here since we're on that right now. So this is a project that I started years ago. It was probably one of my very first projects that I was kind of teaching myself how to do things. And I never finished it. Like, I did it, I never quilted it, and then I never binded it. So it's just a little quilt, very little. And they're just charm packs that I bought. And I think I got this charm pack at like a Walmart or something. And then what I did on the back of the quilt is I went ahead and did edge to edge quilting. And I went ahead and did that in the back. And let's see if you can see that. And so it's got the little cars with flowers on it. And I went ahead and did that. And then here in the front, let me see if I can adjust a little bit here. This is what the front looks like. And so it's just a real simple little quilt with just squares. I mean, this was really me kind of teaching myself, you know, just kind of learning as I go. And then I just did a cute little binding with some fun fabric that I had laying around that has kind of like a rainbowish color. So it's kind of a little muted, very soft. And so you don't see too much colors on here. So I just wanted to keep it real simple. So this has finally gotten off of my unfinished project pile. So I was really happy about that because it's been sitting there for a really long time and I really needed to get it out of there. So thank you guys for inspiring me to finish some of my projects because it was starting to get out of hand. And I'm really happy that I was able to finish this. So now this is off of that pile, and I can start tackling some of the other things that I have out there that also need to be done. Let's see, Nancy, this is kind of a small quilting project that I want to try next. Country trucks are still a thing, so get it finished. Yes, definitely. Awesome, awesome. Okay, so let's get back to our project for the day, right? So we've got these applique pieces that we want to put it together. So obviously, if you have a Cricut, you know, the first thing you would do was go ahead and go into design space. And just within the design space, you can go to the section that has the shapes, and you can do tons of things. Like I brought in the shape, and here's a little screenshot of me in Cricut design space where I brought in the heart, and then I brought in a swan. That was one of the heart was the shape, and then the swan was under the browse area where you can just type in swan, and a whole bunch of different swans are going to come out. And then what I did was I mirrored the swan, and so I wanted them to face each other, right? So that's how I just kind of arranged it. And then you have to kind of fit it to the size of the project that you're doing, and that's a little bit of the tricky part. So at this point, you have to kind of decide what it is you want to make with this design. Whether you're going to make a pillowcase or a table runner or whatever it is you're going to do, this is where you have to think about how big does this shape need to be for me to be able to put on my background piece so that it will be the right size for my project. So play around with the sizing on that until you can get it to where you want it to be. Also, if you're doing it as a PDF, you know, you may want to look at the sizing on that and then just kind of shape that into the project that you want to make, right? So once you have the sizing for your project done, the next thing you're going to want to do is to prep your fabric. And with your fabric, let me just move this over to the side. I've got tons of scraps. And so here's a little bag that I have. And these are a bunch of little scrap fabrics that I have. These are like these 10-inch squares, and these are perfect. You can get these from Temu. You can get these from all kinds of places, right? But all of these little scrap fabrics are perfect for this applique work. So, you know, you can pick whatever fabric you want for your designs. And then what you would do is just, you know, once you've picked out the fabric that you're going to use, you would just make sure that the size of the fabric is going to fit on your Cricut mat. Or if you're just cutting it, then you won't have to worry about that. But great scrap buster, because it will, you know, help you kind of get rid of some of these little fabrics that you have. Okay, so once you've picked out your fabric, you're going to want to then put it on your heat and bond. And there's a couple of things that you are going to want to do. So let me just bring out my little Martelli mat here. I'm going to bring this down. Okay. Now I have my iron. I am not going to use my mini iron because I found that my mini iron doesn't really heat up as hot as I want it to get for the heat and bond. So I did bring out my Aloso iron. I'm going to be using that. So I don't think, at least for my iron, it was not strong enough to be able to really hit the enough heat to be able to seal the heat and bond to the actual fabric. So that's why I'm using the bigger iron. So I'm going to go ahead and take this scrap fabric here. I'm just using a regular red piece of fabric. And I'm going to just try to mimic the heart. And so I've cut this down to about, I think it was 10. No, it's about 11 by 11. which is totally fine because that will fit my Cricut mat. And so I'm going to go ahead and grab my iron. It's already hot, and that's why I love this iron. It just heats up in like a second. It's really great. And so I'm going to go ahead and iron this first. Make sure it is nice and flat there. And so you see I have no wrinkles, so you want to make sure it's nice and ironed. And then you're going to take a piece of heat and bond. Okay, and heat and bond, there's two different types of heat and bond out there that you can use. And at this point, you're going to have to kind of make the decision on what you're going to be doing for your project. So we have the heat and bond, you have ultra hold, and this is a no-sew heat and bond. And it comes in this red package. And this is what it looks like on the package. You can get this in your local Walmart. Matter of fact, they had a whole bunch of these on clearance. So you can find these on sale all the time. So just kind of keep a lookout for it. Now, this is the no-sew, okay, which is the one that I'm going to be using today. But you also have the opportunity to buy the Heat and Bond Light, and this is the sewable. And you'll see up on the top, it has a little sewing machine, so this is the sewable one. Now, you would use the sewable one if you maybe are going to do a decorative stitch. So maybe after you've already applied your actual applique to the fabric, you may want to then take it to your sewing machine and do a nice little decorative stitch all the way around to just kind of seal it. You know, there's other things that you can do. If that's the case, then you're going to want to use the sewable one so that way it doesn't gum up your needle when you bring it over to your sewing machine. If you're maybe doing some embroidery on top of the applique, then you also may want to consider using the sewable one. And again, that's the one with the little sewing machine here. This Heat and Bond, which is the no-sew, has a picture of the little iron on top. So that's how you can easily kind of tell. And they try to kind of differentiate them by the colors as well. So you can kind of just, you know, take your pick, you know, on which one you're going to do. Just know what type of heat and bond you need to use before you hit it with that iron. So other than that, it's really simple to do, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to cut out a piece of the heat and bond, and the heat and bond is just this like paper on the back. And then the other side, you can see it's a little bit shiny here. And so it has like the little glue dots. So that adhesive piece is that scratchy side, which I am facing up. So I'm going to take the gluey side, I guess you want to call it, the side with the glue on the top. That's the little scratchy side. It's facing up, and I'm going to take my fabric and put that right on top. Now, couple things that you'll want to note when you're doing this. So you noticed here when I put my red fabric on top of the heat and bond, you're going to see I do have a little bit of heat and bond on this side, and I have a little bit of heat and bond on that side. You want to make note of that because you don't want to run your iron over it, because these little glue dots will glue onto your iron, and that's not fun. So what I like to do, the way I personally do it, is I'll hit it with the iron in the middle, and for the most part I go up to the edges as close as I can without going over. And then I will cut that piece off, then go back and iron it again all the way around on the edges. This is just ensuring that my fabric will stay in place. Now, the reason why I like to have just a little bit over is sometimes when you put the iron down, the fabric may shift a little bit. And so I like to have a little bit more, because if I kind of go with the iron, and let me see if I can demo that a little bit. For right now, it looks like it's almost at the edge on this side. And then let's say I hit it with the iron and the fabric shifts. Now my fabric is a little bit over the heat and bond. And so there's going to be this piece that's just not going to get any of the heat and bond on there. So I like to kind of keep it a little bit in the middle here. And then I will not run my iron over the edges until I know that this piece is absolutely secured, and then I will cut it off and then come back and iron the whole thing. So it's a little bit longer doing it that way, but that just ensures that my iron doesn't get any of the glue and my fabric is completely covered with the heat and bond all the way around. So that's just how I like to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit this now with the iron. So I will just put it right on top for a few seconds and then just kind of pick it up and move it again and again, and then just kind of, you know, light it a little bit here. Now you may notice that the fabric, you can't really tell on the camera so much, but the fabric kind of changes colors a little bit. Like it gets a little bit dark, and that's okay because it will change back once it cools down. So don't worry about that. Okay. Now that I'm kind of satisfied with that, what I'm gonna do, you can see it's already stuck, but I know over here it's still loose because I didn't really hit it with the iron. So I may just kind of shift it a little bit, then come back again and hit it on this side. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this off, and I am going to take my rotary cutter and I'm just going to kind of cut off the edges and cut that heat and bond away. So let's go ahead and do that. And now you can use a ruler. I'm just going to kind of wing it here, but you can totally use the ruler for that. And just go all the way across. See, and it just comes off. So now this edge is nice and clean, and I can run my iron all the way up through the edge. So we're going to go ahead and do that on all 4 sides. And just take your time going through it. See, my fabric also is fraying a little bit on the edges, so as I cut it off, I cut the fray off as well, which is great. And here we go. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect because, you know, we're putting this to get cut, and so these edges are probably not even going to be used. But I like to make sure that everything is nice and covered, because what I do while doing this process, I found it does kind of have some waste to it. But what I've done is I've saved that waste, and you can do other little projects with it, and you can still reuse it. So this is what I've cut off on the heat and bond, so not much waste there. So I'll go ahead now, bring my ironing board back, and now I can kind of take my iron and run it through all the edges around here. So I'll go ahead and grab that again and just kind of give it that final press. And I can go all the way to the edge and not have to even worry about it. Now you can also flip it if you wanted to, and then just iron the back of it. Don't have to, but I like to do it as just kind of a why not. Okay, so once you have that, you've now applied your fabric to the heat and bond. So the back of your fabric is now applied with the heat and bond, and so you still have this paper on the back. So what I found, there's a couple different controversies on what you can do here. There are people that will leave the paper and then run it through the Cricut machine. And when you do that, the fabric side of your project or your fabric will be faced down on the Cricut mat, and the paper side will be faced up. And then I can run it through the Cricut machine. Now, I think this is really the best way to do it to get the cleanest cut. But there are people who have taken off the paper, and when you do that, it just has that kind of finish on the back. And let me see if I have a scrap that I can show you here. Here's a scrap one. And so you can kind of see here when I peel the paper back, if I can get it here. Once you peel the paper back, you're going to see what it looks like. Of course, I can't get it. Let's see. And my nails are not allowing me to do it. Let's see if try a different ends here. Okay, not working for me now. Oh, I think I got it. Okay, here we go. So when you peel it back, you're gonna see this shiny side here. So this shiny side is what you would put down on the background fabric that you want. And then you would hit it with the iron again, and it will glue that background, the fabric onto your background fabric. Now, some people have also taken this to their cutting machines, and of course, fabric side will be down. They will remove the paper and leave this shiny side on top. You can do that. The machine will cut the fabric. But what I found after doing it a few times is that sometimes when you do it that way, the cut doesn't come out very clear. And so you'll be left with like jagged edges, especially if you have a lot of intricate pieces. And so I didn't like that look. I wanted a nice clean cut. And so I found that doing it this way gave me a cleaner cut. Now you'll have to test it out on your own. You know, all machines are different. I have the Cricut Maker 3, but that's kind of what worked for me. And the blade that you're going to use is the bonded fabric blade. Let me just show you what the blade looks like. Let me just get it out of here. You can use a fine cut blade, but this is the blade, and this is what the housing looks like on here. And you can see once I press it down, you'll have that. So Donna's asking, can you fill a project fabric with designs to avoid wasting fabric when cutting on the cutter? Can you fill a project fabric with designs? Yes, you can. And avoid wasting fabric when cutting on the cutter. Yes, you can do that, Donna. Absolutely. And I was thinking of lots of small hearts or shapes for future projects. Yes, and I can tell you, you know, those are like the little things. Like, for example, this is one of the project waste, I guess, after I think this was one of the swans. You can see that, you know, the swan got cut here, but I have all this waste. And so you can do lots of little projects with these. So I plan to use these scraps to make lots of little things like little stars or little hearts or little duckies. You know, I don't throw this out. I continue to kind of use, as long as there's enough space for me to put a design on here, I will save this. And you can place it around your Cricut map wherever you need it to be so that it can make the cut. So even though it has a lot of waste, and it kind of depends, you know, what you're doing, because I needed this to be a bigger size. If I would have made it a smaller size, I probably could have fit a lot more things into the one piece of fabric. So it really depends what you're doing and how you want to use it, but I would not throw these away. I would definitely save these. You can cut these with a scissor maybe, or you can bring it to your Cricut and cut other little designs on here. So definitely, yeah. I definitely would not throw that away. Okay, so this again is the blade that you need. And when you press down on the little knob, you'll see the blade come out. It's very, very thin, very, very sharp. Now, I would also recommend once you finish cutting it on your Cricut, like I would take the blade out after I do a design and it's cut it out. I would take the blade out and just clean it, just make sure there's no paper or anything stuck on it. Now, the problem with doing it with the paper, people have said that, well, that's going to dull your blade faster. That is true. It will dull your blade faster, but I prefer let it dull the blade and I'll try to sharpen it or get refills for the blade. But I like to have nice clean cuts. I don't like that jagged edge cut that it gives you when you don't do it with the paper. So I prefer to have a nice clean cut for my projects to look good, and then, you know, I'll just get replacement blades. They're out there. There's, you know, you can try sharpening it yourself too. So, you know, that's my tip. Now let me, and hold on because I got something here, but it fell. Here we go. Sorry, had something that fell down here. So, so once you have your fabric on with the bonded heat and bond, the next thing you want to do, and I'll just kind of move this over a little bit. Okay. The next thing you want to do is go ahead and put it on your Cricut mat. Now, there's different mats that are out there. I have the fabric grip mat, but I found that you can use the fabric grip. You don't necessarily have to. I kind of like to though, because that's what it's made for. It's for to cut fabrics, right? But you can also use the green mat as well. I would just make sure that it's a nice mat that has that stickiness to it. If it's a worn out mat, you know, then you may have some issues because you don't want the fabric to move around on you. Now, what I did is I went ahead and put the fabric down, and then you'll notice here that what I did is I took painter's tape and I reinforced the edges with the painter's tape all the way around, because I really don't want this heat and bond to move when it's trying to cut it. So I went ahead and did that, secured that all the way around, just around the edges. I tried not to go too far in because I don't want it to cut, you know, where it's going. So once I've done that and I've secured it, then I went ahead and I put it in my Cricut machine. So here we have the design. You'll go ahead and you click make it. You will select the cotton bonded setting, and then once you select that setting, under the pressure, I always like to select more as the option, and then I went ahead and send it to the Cricut machine. And so when I put it on the Cricut machine, here's a little clip of I went ahead and put it on there, and it went ahead and started doing the cut. Now on this one, it went ahead and it just did the heart, which was really simple. There's all kinds of shapes that you can do with this, right? There's tons of shapes you can do. Little dinosaurs, hearts, stars, ducks, swans, you know, the ideas that you can make with this are endless, and you have all tons of fabrics that you can use. So it will be really nice. Oh. Okay, so I think we lost a little bit of the video there. There we go, we're back. Okay, so once you have that and it comes out of the machine, then you're gonna end up with this. right? And so all you'll have to do is now peel it off of the mat. And so this is what it would look like. And so let's peel it off the mat now. And all you're gonna do is kind of bend it back and then just kind of pick it up. And you're gonna wanna make sure, like there's maybe one little nick here that it did not cut. So I'm actually gonna take my little rotary cutter and just grab it there. So you may have to kind of play, may have skipped a little area here and there. So just take a little blade or your little rotary cutter and just kind of grab that little nick. And so once you've taken it out, now I've got my shape, right? And so this is what it would look like. Here's the heart shape. And then here's the heat and bond on the back. And so now we're gonna take the paper off. See if I have luck on this one. Here we go. And so when you take the paper off, you see that shininess to it, right? And there you go. You have your shape. And so now you're ready to put it on some of your background fabric. And so what I would do here, you know, I can go ahead and now this is like the waist part that I was talking about. Let me see if I can lift some of this up. Since I put the painter's tape on here, you see here, there is a lot of fabric still on here. Okay. And you'll see here that I can make quite a number of shapes from this. I can put a star over here, another little design here to use up the entire fabric. And so I like to kind of just cut little pieces here of what I can reuse, because sometimes you're thinking of doing a design and it's great that you already have it with the heat and bond, so it makes it super easy for you to kind of do a different project with it. So don't throw these pieces away, reuse them, because there's tons and tons of space on here and you can use that for a separate project. Okay, so now that you have your heart shape, you're ready to kind of put it on that background fabric. And so I'm gonna just take a piece of white background fabric here. And this is what I'm going to use to put it on here. Now you can make a pillowcase. You can make so many different things. So the background fabric, the size will really depend on what it is you are making. But then you will just place your design, you know, wherever you need it to be on your background fabric. Like maybe you want it to be like on the corner. Maybe you're doing something like this on the edge and you want the edges to have this nice little heart, and maybe you can put some names on here or something, on some initials, who knows, right? Or keep it in the middle, maybe do a pillow out of this, right? There's so many different things you can do that, you know, it's ideas are just endless. But now another thing people struggle with is, well, what if I wanted to put this in the center? How can I center this? So let's go over that really quick. So I'm going to go ahead. Let me grab my little martelli again. And so I'm going to take my background fabric, and one of the first things you want to do is make sure that this is nice and pressed. So let's go ahead and press this here. Get some of those wrinkles out. You want to make sure that it is nice and pressed. Oops. Just added a little wrinkle there. Okay. Oops. And then I'm going to turn this over and grab the other side. There we go. All right. So now that this is nice and pressed, one of the things that you're going to do to find your center is you're going to take the two edges of your fabric and just line them up. Okay. Line up the center and then just let it lay flat. And then just kind of gently push your way out to the fold. Once you get to the fold, you want to lay that flat, and you're going to run your iron right over that. And what this is going to do is going to create a crease. And that crease is going to indicate where your center point is here. Okay. And then once you have that, you're going to open it back up, and then you're going to flip it over, and you're going to fold the two edges again together. And so you're going to lay it flat again, and you're going to run the same process again. So I'm going to run my fingers here, and I'm going to go ahead and press the center point. So now, when I open this up, I'll have a nice little crosshair right in the middle, and that indicates my center point. All right, so I'm going to lay this flat here. Then I'm going to take my applique, and you can use, depending on your design, little areas that'll let you know where that center point is. So we've got the center of the heart here. So I'm just going to line up the heart right up against my center fold line here, and then the point of the heart will be right on the center fold line here. So really the only thing I need to worry about is how far up or down I want my heart to be. So I can adjust it, maybe go up, maybe come down. You may even want to take out your ruler and measure out from the bottom of your design to the edge of your background fabric, and just make sure that that space is the same distance as the top. And so we can grab a ruler real quick, and we can just measure that out. So let's just scoot this up a little bit here. You can see here that the edge of my design comes all the way down to about 5¼ inches. And so I'm going to turn this around, and I'm going to scoot this the other way now. And then I'm going to go ahead and measure this piece. Now this is about the top of the heart here, and this is about 5½. So I'm going to maybe just scooch it up about 1/8 of an inch to make it even on both sides. So just scooch that up just slightly. And that'll just help me ensure that I'm now centered. And so you'll see that here, and it looks nice and centered. Just kind of eyeball it. Make sure that looks about right as to where you want that to be. And then let me just turn this over. Now that I have this nice where I want it to be, I'm just going to take my iron again, and I'm just going to hit it with the iron. Now, you don't want to put the iron down and start moving it all over the place. You want to just drop your iron down, give it a few seconds, then pick your iron up and then move it to the next spot. You know, on your first initial iron that you're doing, when you're doing the applique pieces, you don't want to move the iron around because you run the risk of moving your fabric around. And so once you've done it the one time, you can kind of test with your fingers to see if any of the fabric comes off. And it looks like it's pretty much there. So now you can put your iron and kind of move it around, because it's more securely in place, and so the chances of your iron moving is very little. Okay. And so I'll just move that a little bit here. And you see that little discoloration that happens because of the heat, but don't worry about it. As soon as it cools down, it will go back to its natural color. Okay. And once you have that in place, you can go ahead and iron the rest so you can get rid of that crease. If you don't want that to show, just go ahead and press that down. so it would go away. Okay. Make sure the rest is nice and pressed. Okay. Now, just again give it the little test with your fingernails. Try to lift up the fabric. Looks like it's nice and solid. I'm not able to pick it up. And so now my little design is adhered to my background fabric. And so I am ready to now just kind of go through my next step. Now, I used the no-sew version, so I'm not going to be sewing on top of it. But if I had another design, like I did for this first one, I can then apply the next design on top. So you'll notice on this design, I had the heat and bond applique piece is half on the fabric itself, and then the other half is on top of another applique piece. And you can see that that worked out fine. It's totally there. It's not moved anywhere. It will adhere to the fabric that's on top because it is designed to adhere to fabric. So since fabric is on top, it doesn't matter that the heat and bond is behind another piece. It will stick together. So you don't have to worry about that. So you have your nice little project here. Now again, I use the no-sew, so I'm not going to be adding any more to this, although you can add little rhinestones, right? I can do a little rhinestone as a little eye here if I wanted to, those little diamond things. There are other things that you can do that doesn't have to involve a sewing or embroidery machine. So you can think about adding a little bling bling here going all the way around. That would really make it sparkle and shine, right? That would be really cute. Or if you use the sewable version, then you can go ahead and something like this would be really nice if you had a little decorative stitch that you can do all the way around. That's another nice little thing that you can do. Or adding again embroidery, someone's name, a date. You know, it's ideas are endless on this. But now for this, you can go ahead and you can make that pillowcase. Or you can just do this here like we did last time. Even though we embroidered it, we did the piping. So now let's put, if you wanted to put this on top, you can kind of see what it would look like a little bit. Or if you want to do the other one that has the swans, you can do that too. You can kind of get an idea of what it would look like. So you can see here, you can have a really nice pillowcase, just like that. Really, really cute. You can create a nice little pillow. And so that would be really cute with the piping, if you wanted to add the piping around the edge, you know, or like I said, you can do little blings, you know, add the little, you know, diamond things. That would really make it sparkle and shine. So I think that's another idea that you can do. And so you could really customize this to be anything that you wanted it to be, because you are the one that's designing the shapes. It's not like a design that you purchased. You can literally do a border all the way around and just embroider the middle piece. You know, there's just so many things that you can do with this. You can add a ruffle all the way around. If you didn't want to do the piping and you wanted to have a nice ruffled look, you can do that as well and bring that all the way around. Anything that would kind of go with your design. And especially now with the holidays that'll be coming up soon, you know, these are the perfect little gifts that you can make that really doesn't take too much time. And if you don't have a lot of like sewing experience or anything like that, just using your Cricut machine, or even if you don't have a Cricut machine, you know, you can cut out these shapes with the heat and bond and your iron and really create something really beautiful to either sell or give as a gift. So that is about it. Let me just see if I had anything else. Let me just check my notes here. Let's see. So we went through all of the steps that you need in order to do this. So I think I covered everything here. Let me just check if we had any questions out there, any additional questions. Let's see. Okay, a lot of you talking about food. Yum. Awesome, awesome. Okay, so I hope you guys really enjoyed this project. I think it's a lot of fun to make, and it's pretty quick and easy, and it's something that you can really make out there and add to your little shops or to give as gifts. So I hope you really enjoyed this episode today, and you know, go ahead and try to finish those unfinished projects and post them on our Facebook group because they are a lot of fun. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. It really helps the channel to grow. Thank you all for tuning in, and I hope to be crafting with you soon. Bye, everyone.
Nancy with GiftsHQ makes crafting videos, creating with passion and a love for what she sews. Crochet, quilting, and sewing, crafting is what she knows. Making smiles one craft at a time. Your talent will grow with every stitch and every thread she weaves her art. Her hands create something special straight from the heart. And as the colors come alive, the joy spreads near and far.